of your dreams. Looking to sell, leave it up to me. Your expectations I will exceed while adding a personal touch to your real estate needs.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dee Dee Shirky with Real Talk Real Estate with Dee Dee. I'm so glad you could tune in today. Got a couple of updates for this amazing real estate market. First of all, in King County, we've got 3,715 homes on the market. I hope that you all survived the snow. That was a challenge, so it slowed down a little bit. But we did have 875 homes that came on the market in February. 1,309 went pending and 1,450 went sold, and that is in King County alone. Now, I have a special guest with me, Miss Nicole Gittens.
Hello.
And she, I thought it'd be really a good idea for us to talk about staging when it is time to sell your home. I know that springtime is the hot season where people start putting their homes on the market. And of course, the goal is to get the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And staging is one of the things that my company offers. And so I thought that I would bring you in and we could have a conversation about what it looks like. Typically, when a home is staged, you will receive more market share, less time on the market, and an average of 6% higher to sell your home, right? So you'll actually get 6% more than the average person that's on the market. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the name of your company, how long have you been in the industry, and kind of what things you provide. So I'll let you start with what's the name of your company?
Okay. The name of my company is New Vision Interiors and Events.
Okay.
I have been in the industry for probably about at least 10 to 15 years. I'm one of those ones who used to redecorate a room over and over when I was younger.
Sure.
And so it just really became something that was a passion of mine. I got to be kind of known in my neighborhood for, she's got a great house, maybe she can provide me some ideas. So I've been doing it for quite a while now. Staging homes is something that I do, as well as designing. The primary thing that I do, though, is I work with realtors and provide clients with staging for their homes, whether it be vacant staging or occupied staging.
Okay.
So, there's a difference. Obviously, if some of the clients that I work with are investors,
Yep.
so they're remodeling, completely revamping those homes, and I'll go in and stage, the entire home, vacant. Other times I have clients who are going to be living in their homes,
Sure.
and so I'll do consultations and go in with them and work with them, highlighting the best areas of their home, utilizing some of the things that they have, and then perhaps bringing in some of my own inventory.
Okay, so the staging can be different depending on if it's vacant
That's
or
correct.
if people are living in it.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So while you're here at Rainier Avenue Radio.world, is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions?
Sure, sure.
All right. So we know that typically homes that are staged get a 6% return on investment, and that has been proven. What is the timeline that typically you need? So after you sit down and you consult with somebody, let's just say the home is vacant, but it needs repair. They finish the repair. What is the typical turnaround time for staging?
Okay. I would say typical turnaround time would be about 3 days on average.
Okay.
I like to use the first day just for delivery of items, furnishings into the home. Even if they have some things there, usually there's some decor, items like that I'll bring in of my own. And then, so that's usually the first day. And second day, I'm doing installation, actually placing things where they need to go. I give myself an additional day because sometimes things happen. Sometimes
Sure.
things, go
Sure.
wrong. And so I give that just as an extra cushion. I do a lot of finessing and touching. And
that's what stagers and the detail
Yes.
type of people do, right? So I'm big picture. I just want it to look this certain way.
Right.
If you ask me the steps 1 to 100, I'm falling out. I
Right.
can't even, You know, and by the time if I rearrange it 3 times, third time is a charm. It's good enough for me.
Right,
So
yeah.
that's why it's important to have that extension of your business, particularly as a real estate agent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how many times do you typically rearrange a home? Like if you see a living room or you see a bedroom, how many times do you feel like before you get it right for yourself?
Usually, I'd say about 75% of the time, I already have a vision going in.
Got it.
And it's executed the first time. I'd say there's a 25% window where there's a chance where, I'm placing something and it just doesn't, I step back and it doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
And I really want, the rooms that I stage and the things that I touch, I want it to wow, buyers when they come in.
You
I
bet.
want it to resonate with them and speak to them.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure that when I walk away from that room, that it's amazing,
Yeah.
So I'd say, like I said, 75% of the time, I have a vision, I plan it, it happens. And the other 25% of the time, I might need to touch it a second time. Usually doesn't go beyond that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the top 3 things when you're sitting down with clients that are living in their space? What are the top 3 things that you tell them or give them advice before you really go to work?
Okay. The first thing is always going to be declutter. It has to happen. And it's something that I can help clients do as well. But I want to make sure that, when the staging is done, we want to make sure that there's no clutter. We have a nice, clean look. So that's the first thing we're gonna do is making sure that any extraneous items are removed and that we have a nice, clear working space. Second,
Let me ask you, what does so everybody's level of declutter, right?
Right.
And so I can imagine that sometimes you walk into homes like, you know what, we've spent an entire week decluttering,
Right.
and you walk in like, ooh,
right? Yeah.
almost,
Right,
almost
but
have
not
it.
quite,
So,
yeah.
what do you do in that situation?
In a situation like that, I think it's very important to be upfront, and have an honest working relationship
Yeah.
with those clients. So you just have to, tell them. I offer the service if they
Okay.
need additional help. That's the
Okay.
main thing. It's an additional service that I offer. If they feel that they need additional help, sometimes they don't realize, and I have to kind of bring it to their attention.
Right, because they've lived there. I said we, because
Right.
we lived there for a
Right.
long time. So
Yeah.
you're asking me to do what? I haven't
Right.
touched that corner in 2 to 3 years.
Right, yeah. And there are also services that I have, different resources where I can help people come in if there's, an excessive amount
Sure.
of things that need to be removed, then I can make referrals, if it's something that's kind of outside of the scope of what I can offer.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. How do you stay on top of interior trends?
Well, I do a lot of reading and, Pinterest and all these different things, magazines and such. But you stay on top of trends just because I do staging, but I also do design work as well and helping clients, just redesign their homes and refresh, their looks throughout the year. However, you want to kind of stay away from trendy, versus what trends are out there.
Okay.
So I just, I do a lot of reading. I'm always in stores, so just kind of being aware of what's going on, what's out there, and staying on top of, kind of looking at what's coming.
Okay.
One thing that I like to do as well that I think sometimes people overlook, a lot of times they have spring fashion week and that type of thing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm working on right now is kind of looking at fashion and how you can kind of marry those trends that are coming, for fashion week into your home. There's a lot of
That's
different,
good.
correlation to that. So right now, as far as, what's trending for 2019, color is one thing that sometimes stagers try to stay away from. They try to kind of stay with very, muted, understated, neutral colors. But we're finding a lot more color being used, coming up for 2019, and really not being afraid of color,
Yeah.
and kind of mixing things together. I think I think what has been expected in the past, especially last year, is that you'd find pops of color. But for 2019, they're trying to kind of marry, you know, colors that you wouldn't even think of, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lot more expected now to see a little more color in the spaces that they're staging.
Okay.
So that's one thing. Some of the top colors I would say for 2019, one has been coral, is a big one.
Beautiful. That's one of my
Yes.
favorite colors.
Mine as well. I just did a home this week actually where I brought in some warmer coral orange tones, and it turned out really, really well.
Yeah.
So that's one color. Also blue, you know, blue is a color that's very calming. So that's another one. And the other one that's kind of different is more of a terracotta color, kind of a, you know, a natural looking color. You'll see it in leathers, things that, you know, have texture and that type of thing. So those are some of the colors that we're seeing for 2019.
Very cool. Again, we are here at Rainier Avenue Radio.world. This is Dee Dee Shirky with Real Talk Real Estate. Joining me here with Miss Nicole Gittens. And we are just so appreciative that you're here and you've been giving us a wealth of information about staging. And I can't stress enough how important it is when an agent is listing, especially us when we list our homes. It's important because buyers need to see themselves in the home. And a lot of times when you have clutter or when you have personal items or things are not clean, photography isn't right, people can't quite grasp themselves in the home. So again, thank you for coming.
Sure,
couple of things. What are 4 interior paint tips that you could give a seller?
Let's see. One of the things, as far as paint colors go, that you want to stay away from is a lot of different colors in your home.
Okay. So are you talking about in one room, or are you just talking about the whole house?
The whole house.
Okay, so you don't want it to look like a Crayola box.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay.
It's very important to, now, you know, versus what I said before about staging and using color, when you're looking at paint colors in a home, you definitely want to go with some more neutral colors. If you have, you know, accent walls, you know, that might be a different color, or, you know, perhaps you have a nursery that was, you know, pastel pink or something
Sure.
like that. Those are the rooms that you want to neutralize.
Okay.
Okay. So that will be one thing. The other thing as far as paint goes is the colors that we're finding are going to be more suitable for staging a house. It's not always going to be white. You know, some people just think white paint is, you know, we're just going to do it white and that's going to neutralize it. But warmer tones, even grays, are very, very acceptable. You know, gray has become like a new neutral.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
So that's something that can be done as well. The other thing I would recommend is not doing it yourself.
Oh no?
Yeah, no, because
So you don't want the white, off-white corner?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then I find some clients become overwhelmed, you know, they start it and then they're like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was going to be so much work, you know.
Yeah.
So I would say hire a professional, you know, when it comes to that, make that investment because you're going to get it back on the back end. And then lastly, one thing that's very important is ceilings, you know. You sometimes you have, you know, white ceiling and you think you're just going to touch it up if it needs to be touched up. You cannot touch up those areas.
So there's no such thing as touching up the ceiling. So it's either all or not at all.
It's all or not at all.
Okay.
And it has to be done correctly. I've seen that turn out to be a nightmare in some situations. So
Okay.
I would recommend that as well.
What is the finesse that you have to use, particularly when you have someone that's selling their home that they've lived in? Sometimes what I find is when you're dealing with investors or you have a family or a person or couple that has come in and they're just like, hey, you know, this is our starter home. We're going to do this for 2 years. And so they're not as tied to a home as somebody who has lived in it, has raised a family.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
Is there a difference in the finesse? Is the conversation different? Because I find that in real estate, I have to deal very differently with an investor than a family who has raised their children or is moving away. It's like, you know, that wall is the wall that has all my kids' heights.
Right,
Okay, so
right.
like-
Yes, that's a
I
great
have to-
point.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think that, I mean, you're right. It's a completely different conversation. Investors want to, you know,
Their bottom line number,
That's
what is
right.
it, how much is it gonna cost me, is it gonna take me away from my bottom line? And I'm
Right.
not saying that other people don't,
Mhm.
because they want to know what they're going to net, and they want the value
Right.
of what staging is going to do,
Mhm.
but the conversation is different, so I cut you off.
No,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
it is. It's very different. You know, with the investor, a lot of times the investor, you know, just wants the staging done. They're not as concerned. You know, it's always going to be vacant staging. So, you know, you go in, you get it done, and there's less emotion. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? There's
sure.
less emotion. So it's much more cut and dry, like you said, down to the, you know, what are the final numbers? What's it going to cost? You know?
Yes.
And then, you know, and it's a very different conversation when you're dealing with someone who's been living in the home. There's history there, you know, and it's more, you know, more emotion involved for those types of clients. And so I think that takes, you know, just a slower pace, you know, really working on making a connection with that buyer, and you know, making sure that a piece of what they see, you know, for their home is included in
That's
how
good.
you stage.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So tell us again the name of your company.
Yes.
Do you have a website and a
Yes.
phone number? I want to make sure we get that out there a couple of times.
Absolutely. Okay, so it's New Vision Interiors and Events, and my number is 206-488-3456, and the website is New Vision Interiors and Events.com. I'm also on Facebook as well as Instagram.
Very, very cool. Again, we're here at Rainier Avenue Radio.World Real Talk Real Estate with Dee Dee Shirky, and you can always reach me on my phone, 206-356-8041. You can visit my website at DeeDeeHomeExpert@kw.com. That's DEEDEE HomeExpert@kw.com. Couple more questions here for you, Nikki. So, do you recommend different styles of staging for different homes? In other words, you know, when I am talking to a seller, I always say a home speaks very differently, and it's going to grab a particular type of a seller, whether it's a first-time home buyer, whether it's somebody who's upgrading or downsizing. And depending on the style, do you cater more towards that style, or do you kind of force the home to cater towards your style?
Yes. I never ever force it to cater to my style.
Okay.
I'm always looking at the character that the home has, the style, the architecture of the home. I'm also even looking at what else is going on in on that block, you know, other homes
That's good.
around it. So for me, I always like to walk the property, you know, prior to, you know, staging. And I'm looking for those little things that are special about the home. I feel like once I walk into a house, I'm able to then tell what style it, you know, every house is different. and
Every house
unique.
is different.
And so that's what I'm going to do when I'm staging and putting together a plan for that home. I want to make sure that it speaks to whatever that, you know, whatever it speaks to me, if it's whatever style that is.
It's interesting you talk about putting together a plan for the home. So then that would mean every plan is different for every home.
Yes, it is. It is. I don't have anything that's cookie cutter. I treat each home that I stage individually, and you know, because each house is unique. And so I do, once I've walked through, go back and put together a plan for each home, because you know, everyone is special. Doesn't matter if it's a, you know, a vacant home that's being, you know, sold by an investor, or if it's, you know, a couple that's been in the house for 30 years.
So what's your process like after you walk through the home? Then you go home and then do what?
Well-
do you have like swatches of color and you're like do you open up your you know, I don't know if you have an office, or you're like, okay, that'll work. Do you have it in mind? Like, what is your process?
I think that a lot of the process is gifted to me.
That is a gift.
It is.
Let
It
me
really,
just tell you
it really
that.
is.
And some of us don't have it.
Right.
That we don't have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
So that's part of it. And then I do have a warehouse space that I store all of my inventory. So a lot of times I will mentally I know what I have. So
Sure.
a lot of times I'll walk through a property and I'll go, okay, this would go well here, So after the process of walked it, I will go to my inventory and just kind of walk through and see which pieces, which furnishings will speak to me that I think will work well in the house. And then from that point, kind of pulling together decor and that type of thing. So it's more like kind of just what comes to me, and really once I've discovered what the feel is for the house, what style, then I'm gonna go into my warehouse and select those types of things.
So are you doing this manual labor yourself? Are you lifting these couches and strapping stuff on your back and heading into these homes?
Occasionally,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, okay.
However, I do have help.
Okay, so sometimes you get in your cardio.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I absolutely
You get in your
my
steps.
cardio.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Okay.
for sure.
Okay, but you do have help.
Yes, I
as
do.
well.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And where can people go and see the work that you've done?
I have a portfolio on my website of quite a bit of the projects that I've worked on. A lot of it is pictured on Instagram on the page that I have there, as well as Facebook.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then if for whatever reason we have a do-it-yourself seller who just really thinks that they can take your pictures and do it, right? And we're
Right.
not. I mean, there are some people that either they can, right? Some people have that eye,
Yes.
and then there are people that think they can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what would you tell them, like basic tips for a seller who's getting ready to sell their home, and they feel like they want to do some of it themselves? What are some of the things that? What are some tips you would give them as a professional to someone who's not?
I would say to err more towards the side of minimalism.
Okay.
Keeping things simple, I think is the safest way to go for somebody who's going to do it themselves.
Okay.
And, I think one good way to kind of give themselves a start would be, to go to the internet, go to Pinterest, or maybe some of these other sites that are out there, and find some inspiration. Maybe it's a magazine, but you have to kind of start with one room and work from there. But I think the most important thing is to make sure that when the staging is done, that don't do too much. Don't try to do too much, because you can always add things. If you get the opinion of a family member or your realtor, in that case. But you don't want to do too much. You want to kind of scale things down and keep it minimalistic.
Okay.
Okay.
Very cool. I just want to thank you so much for coming. You
Thank
gave
you.
all of us some amazing tips. Again, tell us where we can find you.
Okay, it's newvisioninteriorsandevents.com, and you can also go to Instagram. You can search at New Vision Interiors on Instagram, or New Vision Interiors and Events on Facebook.
Great. We look forward to working with you. Again, this is Dee Dee Shirky with Real Talk Real Estate. And of course, at the end, we have an amazing special guest. Come on over here, Miss Watson?
Yes.
Miss Watson. Yes. So we have a microphone for you.
All right.
We definitely try to make sure that we are supporting local businesses. Okay, so we have right now we have a lot of power and juice in this room.
Yes.
Everybody is a business owner.
Yes.
And you are actually right next door to the studio. So tell us, and you're going to be a future homeowner.
Yes.
We are working on that as we speak. So when you get ready to do that, and if you want somebody to decorate your home,
right.
That's
I was
the
definitely
lady over.
listening because
take
I
it?
wasn't gifted
You
at
take it
that.
at all, right?
So not at all.
So me either. So that's why I hire the professionals
Yes.
to do what I don't do. My job is to negotiate and sell homes. And the color palette, you don't want to see my YouTube stuff. My kids will talk about me terribly. So Miss Trilina, will you please tell us what you do, what's the name of your business, how long you've been doing it?
Okay, I just opened a salon next door called Get It Done Hair Salon.
Get it done.
And I've actually been doing hair for 30 years. I've been doing hair, well, with clientele since I was 12. My family is really huge, so I have practiced heads all my life. And, but we are going to have a grand opening soon, maybe hopefully this summer.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of work going on over there, and the space is way bigger than I thought, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you move there?
In November.
November.
Yes, we got there in November.
And so you've been doing this for 30 years.
Yes.
What's the most challenging part of your job?
Trying to please everybody and trying to make sure that I try to listen to the streets and gauge my prices off of what other people are doing in the neighborhood and not trying to charge too much, and you can't please everybody that way, but then also different personalities, and you have different races and nationalities, and just trying to make everybody happy is probably the hardest thing, because I do that all the time.
Sure. So now if we can have a conversation kind of on the record, off the record. I know that a lot of times I'm asked to discount my services,
Yeah.
right? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I just recently went back to school to get my license.
Okay.
Because a lot of people don't respect your business when you're not licensed, and I was just a braider. And so now that I am licensed and own my own business, it's like, there's a chain of command.
Yeah.
And the experience and the price need to match. And a lot of people don't really respect that. And I understand there's certain jobs that people have that may not allow them to spend as much money, but I think a lot of people have got things misconstrued these days, and they're trying to live beyond their means. So they want a $500 hairstyle for $100, and I'm seeing all over the internet that it's
So
making
you
a
need
lot
to
of
Pinterest that.
discouraging
You need to Pinterest
to a lot of
that.
stylists.
Sure.
Yeah, even groups that I've been in, out of state groups, everybody is saying the same thing. So that's part of what I'm saying about trying to help everybody, but sometimes you might just need to get a flat iron.
And the funny thing about discounted prices is, sometimes we just don't articulate our value,
Right.
or we don't believe it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I'm constantly challenged with, right?
Mhm,
So
yes.
once you know your value and your worth, when you go into Nordstrom's, you're not asking for a discount,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if I'm going to be the Nordstrom of real estate, if you're going to be the Nordstrom of hair care, if you're
Yes.
going to be the Nordstrom of staging,
Yes.
then what we are compensated for is value, and that's not to be questioned.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for coming. What's the name of your hair?
Get It Done Hair Salon.
Okay, and where are you? Where are you
In
located?
Columbia City, 5262 Rainier Avenue South.
And where can they reach you?
206-919-9220. Also, Get It Done Hair Salon on Instagram, and Trelina Tara Watson on Facebook.
Okay, we're here at Radio Avenue Radio. Let me say this again. Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Right here at Real Talk Real Estate with Dee Dee. We'll see you all next time.
Want to find the home of your dreams? Looking to sell, leave it up to me. Your expectations I will exceed while adding a personal touch to your